Well, you know, when you look at farming from the outside, sometimes it looks pretty good. You say, wow, corn's worth more per bushel than it's been for a long time, and
Well,
think those farmers must be doing great. But what you don't normally see from the outside is how much it actually costs to farm. So we thought we'd talk just a little bit about how the costs have gone up, just like the price of corn has gone up.
Yeah, so just a couple things, first of all, on the price. Yeah, the price at one point on the Chicago Board of Trade for corn hit almost $8, but very few people sold then because it was only there for a little while. So for the most part, corn has been, let's say, $5.50 on the Chicago Board of Trade, which you think, well, $5.50, that's a really good price. But what you don't see is the local basis. In other words, the difference that a local elevator pays versus what the Chicago Board of Trade is. And where we farm, cash grain prices lately for the last probably month or two have only been in the $4.50 to $5 range. So you would say, well, that's still pretty good. And yes, $4.50 to $5 a bushel is pretty good. But here's the thing that we really wanted to discuss today. A lot of farmers we're talking to, what they're figuring for cost of production going into this next year ranges from $4 a bushel up to $6 a bushel. Now, obviously, you're not going to survive very long in farming if you have a $6 per bushel cost of production and you can only get $5. That doesn't really work.
It doesn't really sound right to say you can only get $5 a bushel for corn, but realistically, that's what's going on. Now, when you look at farming and you say the cost of farming has gone up, the biggest thing has been the cost of plant nutrients. To raise a 200 bushel corn, it's going to take 180 pounds of nitrogen out of the soil. It's going to take 76 pounds of phosphorus out of the soil. It's going to take 60 pounds of potassium out of the soil. And just to replace those nutrients costs hundreds of dollars.
Well, that's just for the grain, too. The nutrients Darren said, that's not even figuring all the plant material, so all the stalk and the leaves and everything else. It takes a tremendous amount of fertility out there. And so what we're spending on our farm now on average to try to raise 200 bushel corn is going to be in the $300 to $400 an acre range just for fertilizer. That's it. So we're probably going to have a $2 cost of production just in fertilizer alone for corn. And when you look at corn prices historically, they've only been $2 a bushel. And we're going to spend that this year just for fertilizer. In my book, it's just ridiculous. I mean, we're probably going to spend that kind of money, like I say, roughly $1.50 to $2 per bushel cost of production for fertilizer. We're going to spend another probably 50 cents a bushel for the seed corn. So right there for sure, we're going to be at or over $2 a bushel. And we've hardly done anything. We haven't bought the land, we haven't bought the equipment, we haven't paid the labor, we haven't bought the insurance. We got a long ways to go yet.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that you need to farm. It does take a lot of capital to get going because you can either buy land or you can cash rent land. Well, when the cost of everything's gone up, the cost of cash renting land has gone up. Then you look at equipment and wow, you know, the cost of steel and labor to make that equipment and everything else, that's gone up. And the manufacturers have to recoup some of those costs. So the price for farmers to buy a new tractor in many cases is a couple $100,000 for a tractor, and a combine and a planter. It's just...
Well, let's run through just a few real costs. Okay, so we just said if our yield goal is 200 bushels, we're going to spend $300 to $400 an acre on fertilizer. We're going to spend $100 an acre on seed. We're going to spend $50 an acre on chemical. We're going to spend for rent another, probably $125 an acre for rent. Now, if you were going to buy ground today for what ground is selling for just to make the payments, you'd probably have to spend $300 or $400 an acre if you wanted to buy ground instead of renting ground. It's just gotten ridiculously high priced. You got to look at insurance. For crop insurance and all farm insurance, you probably spend another $50 an acre. When you talk about the equipment, let's just run through the equipment side of things. So what it costs to buy new equipment today. We just bought a new 24-row planter for, I don't remember what the exact figure was, $125,000 roughly. If we wanted to buy a new combine today with a 12-row corn head and a 30-foot bean head, we'd probably spend $400,000 for that. A new tractor is going to be $200,000 at least. And
I can hear the ag lenders out there saying, wow, I want to work with you guys on the farm and loan you all that money.
No, I'm not saying we're buying all new equipment every year or anything like that. I'm just saying if we wanted to buy new equipment today, that's what it would cost. If you want to buy a new self-propelled sprayer today, you're going to spend $150,000 to $200,000. You know, so those are just the basic things. Then you look at some of the tillage equipment you need, you know, mowers for taking care of your ditches. You got to have a number of different things on the farm. Besides those major things, you can easily rack up $1 million to $2 million in equipment expense. So if you start looking at just to pay the interest alone, not even making the principal payments on the equipment, you're probably at $100,000 a year. I mean, it's just crazy what some of this stuff costs now.
Well, there certainly are a lot of costs in farming, and believe me, we really do enjoy farming. It's a great way of life, and it is a good way to make some money too if you're willing to work hard and take a lot of risk by putting a bunch of financial capital out there. One of the things in order to make your farm successful is getting good weed control. Weeds like our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?